When I made the video, I really disliked Jake Paul. Now, I don't dislike him, I understand him. I want to make something clear. I would still kick the living fuck out of him.
Andrew Tate just went after Jake Paul like a bulldozer through a sandcastle, and honestly, it was a spectacle. He didn't hold back, calling Jake out in no uncertain terms for being, well, an absolute jerk.
Because he's allowed himself to become the biggest clown on the internet, and now he's famous, right? Because he's an idiot. But he has a bunch of money, so he gets to...
Tate accused Jake of disrespecting boxing, a sport cherished by billions, and tarnishing its reputation. But Jake didn't stop there. He took it a step further by dragging a living legend, Mike Tyson, into his spectacle of a fight. In doing so, Jake didn't just ruin the event, he disrespected Tyson's legacy.
I'm not some washed-up UFC fighter. I'm not smaller than him. I would beat the living shit out of him. And if he wants to fight, I'll fight him any day of the week, and I'll fucking wreck him. You know.
And for what? A few extra clicks on Instagram? Andrew isn't having any of it. He squarely blamed Jake for the entire fiasco, calling it an embarrassment to combat sports and a blatant insult to Tyson's legendary career. The worst part? Jake doesn't even have the decency to feel ashamed. It's shamelessness at its peak. And Andrew refuses to stay silent.
However, I do understand what he's doing. I understand that he is very, very smart, even with his marketing angle. I'm just a YouTuber. You're not just a YouTuber. You're a full-grown man with the best coaches in the world who's dedicated his life to learning how to box for years. You know how to box. You're not a complete amateur. You know how to box very well. 3, 4, 5 years of training combat sports. You can box. The guy's not a jackass.
Andrew Tate absolutely tore Jake Paul apart on live TV, and honestly, it was long overdue. Jake Paul, the self-proclaimed savior of boxing, with a fight record as questionable as his haircuts, 6 wins, 1 loss, and a fan base that seems more excited about his TikToks than his punches, yet somehow he struts around like he's revolutionized the sport. Enter Andrew Tate, 76 professional kickboxing wins, 23 knockouts, and 0 patience for Jake's YouTube boxing antics. If this were a legitimate sport instead of Jake's social media sideshow, he wouldn't even make it past the tryouts.
I made a video that called out Jake Paul.
$3 million. You put 3, I put 3. Winner takes all. You know my name, Andrew Tate. I will fight you any day, anytime. Let's fucking go. If I were to fight Jake Paul, I would take it completely seriously in a real fight, and I'd whoop his ass. I'd beat him. Jake. Everyone thinks he's just some YouTube.
Jake's latest stunt? Dragging a 58-year-old Mike Tyson out of retirement for a so-called fight. Seriously, who does that? Tyson is a legend, a Hall of Famer who's earned his peace in retirement, but Jake decided it would be fun to slap Tyson's name on a pay-per-view event and call it a fight. Andrew Tate didn't hold back, calling it exactly what it is, a joke, and not the funny kind. This isn't boxing, it's a content creator's ego trip, and Tate is here to call it out for what it is. All right.
But he is not just a YouTuber. He is a young man training with Canelo and Ryan Garcia.
When I made the video, I really disliked Jake Paul. Now, I don't dislike him, I understand.
Tate, a fighter who's battled elite athletes for over a decade, called Jake out for padding his record with opponents who either don't belong in the ring or are well past their prime in cashing retirement checks. Let's recap Jake's so-called greatest hits. A YouTuber, a retired basketball player, and a lineup of former MMA fighters whose boxing skills are about as sharp as a butter knife. Oh, and let's not forget the Mike Tyson fiasco. If Jake spent half as much time training as he does cherry-picking his opponents, he might actually earn some respect. But here we are. So, Derek.
I challenged him because he is a very fortunate young man. And he's fortunate because he's extremely rich, because he's allowed himself to become the biggest clown on the internet, and now he's famous, right? Because he's an idiot. But he has a bunch of money, so he gets to...
When Tate called Jake a clown, it wasn't just trash talk, it was the truth. Jake Paul is like the guy who shows up to a costume party in a suit and calls himself James Bond. He's playing dress up, and it's painfully obvious. Tate's challenge to Jake was straightforward. Stop hiding behind gimmicks, step into the ring with a real fighter, and prove you've got more than Instagram captions. Tate has spent years mastering his craft, taking on opponents who could actually hit back. Meanwhile, Jake's been busy promoting himself on social media and flexing on TikTok. He's the guy who skips practice but still demands to be team captain. It's embarrassing, really. If these two ever meet in the ring, Tate wouldn't just win, he'd dismantle Jake in front of his own fan base. And honestly, it'd be the reality check Jake has been avoiding.
but I'd still whoop his ass. but I would whoop his ass. But he wouldn't take a fight against me, because when he loses, I'm not nearly on his level of fame, right? So like, he lost to who? Whereas if he loses to Conor McGregor, it's no big deal. Well, he lost to Conor McGregor, who cares, right? That's what it's about. But yeah,
It's still a win for him.
Yeah,
Let's talk about Tyson fighting one more time, because it deserves a special level of roasting. Jake Paul fighting Mike Tyson at this stage in his life is like challenging a retired Olympian to a sprint and calling it a fair race. It's disrespectful, desperate, and exactly what we've come to expect from Jake Paul. Tate didn't mince words about it, and neither should we. Fighting someone 31 years older than you isn't a competition, it's borderline elder abuse. Andrew wouldn't stoop that low, but Jake, he would, because he seems to lack both humanity and common sense. On paper, Jake and Tate might look evenly matched, both over 6 feet tall and around 190 to 200 pounds, but experience and skill aren't written on paper, and that's where Jake doesn't stand a chance. Tate has been fighting elite competition for over a decade, while Jake has been boxing for, 4 years? And most of that time has been spent figuring out how to make his next fight trend on Twitter. Jake isn't a boxer, he's a walking brand deal.
I am ready. Come on. Fight. Hey, let's go fight. Hey, fight. Hey, go fight. Hey, work. Hey, work. Hey, work. Hey, work.
Andrew Tate has always made it clear that Mike Tyson is more than just a name in the boxing world. He's a living legend, an icon who shaped the sport. Tate respects Tyson the way fighters should respect each other, with honor, not opportunism. This isn't about PR stunts or hashtag moments for him. Tate openly acknowledges Tyson as one of the greatest, and unlike Jake Paul, he would never drag Tyson into a sham of a fight just to inflate his social media numbers. That's because Tate values legacy. Jake Paul, he values clicks.
Andrew, fighter, legitimate, badass motherfucker, strong mentality. Sorry, Tristan Tate is a weak link.
I say let's ride.
He got a bad shoulder. He's shaped like a gingerbread man. I don't want no beef, but that's delusion.
PFO will set this up.
A MMA double tag team match.
10 million for everybody.
You might have a fight on.
Let's talk about Jake Paul for a second. The guy who thought fighting a 58-year-old Mike Tyson was a brilliant career move. Fighting might be a strong word, though. Exploiting? That's more accurate. Jake didn't see Tyson as a man who's earned his rest. He saw him as a shortcut to stay in the headlines. The worst part? Jake genuinely believed this stunt would make him look like a legitimate boxer. Andrew Tate, on the other hand, sees Tyson as someone whose legacy deserved to be preserved, not paraded around for cheap cash grabs. Tate didn't hold back in calling Jake out, labeling the fight exactly what it was, a desperate attempt to cling to relevance. And honestly, he's spot on. Even Tyson, who's way too classy to outright roast Jake, has hinted at the glaring difference between someone like Tate and Jake. Tyson respects figures like Tate because, like him, they've earned their influence. They've put in the work, taken the hits, and emerged as genuine fighters. Jake Paul? His antics probably make Tyson roll his eyes so hard they're practically doing laps. The contrast is clear. Tate operates with dignity, while Jake operates like a walking billboard for his next viral moment.
Two brothers, one cage. Jake Logan, you Tristan. Who comes out alive?
You know what? I'm trying so hard to not start internet beefs. I'm really trying not to.
You could say Jake and Logan, man.
Bro,
don't worry about it.
No, I can't lie. Bro, I'm going through life. I'm trying to live peaceful now. I've got Fed agents in my house. Matrix is after me. I'm just trying to live peaceful. But of course, I have absolute faith in myself and my brother, and I know what we've been through, and I know the kind of men we are.
Here's the thing. Respect is everything in combat sports. It's what separates the legends from the frauds. Tate's respect for Tyson isn't just empty words. It's the kind of honor that comes from understanding the grind, the sacrifices, and the legacy of a true fighter. Jake Paul, on the other hand, would know respect if it hit in the face with a boxing glove. His entire career is built on cherry-picking opponents who either don't box for a living or are well past their prime. It's not just embarrassing, it's insulting to the sport and the athletes who take it seriously. The public's reaction to Jake's stunt was brutal, and rightly so. Fans and analysts alike saw right through it. Fighting Tyson at 58 wasn't a bold move, it was a cash grab, plain and simple. People were outraged, not just at the disrespect towards Tyson, but at Jake's sheer audacity to believe this would somehow earn him respect in the boxing world. The combat sports community has had enough of the smoke and mirrors and is practically begging Andrew Tate to step in and give Jake the reality check he's been dodging. Let's not pretend Jake Paul doesn't know exactly what he's doing. He's spent years avoiding real fighters, carefully curating his opponents to build a fake legacy. But Andrew Tate isn't some retired MMA fighter looking for a payday. He's a former kickboxing world champion with 76 wins and the kind of experience Jake can only dream of. If these two ever step into the ring, it won't be a fight. It'll be a dismantling. Tate will tear through Jake like a buzzsaw through cardboard, and everyone knows it. Jake included. Jake, the media has been having a field day with the possibility of this fight, and the internet is buzzing with memes, debates, and predictions. Social media is lit up with people begging Tate to shut Jake down once and for all. For Tate, it's a chance to show the world what a real fighter looks like. For Jake, it's a chance to prove he's more than just a glorified YouTuber. But let's be honest, he's not.